Okay, this is just his fucking clothing brand.
New this morning, police are searching for the robbers who stole more than $2 million worth of diamond jewelry in the Bronx. Happened just after 2:30 Friday afternoon.
On the 5th of August 2022, 4 criminals committed a smash and grab robbery and escaped with over $2 million worth of jewelry in the Bronx. Just 45 days later, $2 million worth of in-game items were hijacked from a single user's Steam account. One of these heists was covered on huge news networks, the other was talked about on Twitch and YouTube. One of these heists had the risk of 20 years in jail, the other had no risk whatsoever.
No risk?
Despite all of these factors, all of the robbers had the same chance of making the same amount of money.
Chat, should we just all rob people on fucking Steam?
Of the $2 million Steam heist.
Let's all rob people on Steam. We won't go to prison for it. Part 1, the hobby.
Today's video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Surfshark keeps your online identity safe
we don't care.
Encrypting all from Surfshark. This story begins with a little game called CSGO.
CSGO.
Some of you may have heard of it.
Chat, who hacked in CSGO? Who hacked in CSGO?
Counter-Strike is home to the largest singular player base on Steam, and is also home to the world's most lucrative and legitimate in-game economy. These in-game skins sell for real money millions of times a day, creating a legitimate market that resembles the idea of the stock exchange despite its shallow depth in features and execution. Some skins are worth just a few cents, others are worth enough to buy your family home. Many people old and young, technically savvy and technically incompetent, can't grasp the idea of why an in-game item made from pixels would sell for such an extreme price. Transactions for real-life cash take place on third-party marketplaces that Steam does not own. There are countless sites that offer various ways to trade and sell skins, most of which make millions of dollars from their transaction fees. People make a living through buying and selling skins, people lose their life savings from gambling skins, and some people simply just want to collect. Collecting is often where emotions outweigh monetary gain, which is an extremely difficult thing to achieve unless you have vast amounts of wealth to begin with. However, much like many other markets, the CSGO economy awards those who are patient. This brings us to a man named HFB. HFB was the biggest CSGO collector in the history of the game, and had gained a reputation for owning the most expensive inventory of items on Steam. But by June of 2022, he had not logged into his account for over 3 years, and his inventory had been completely private. This meant that no one could peek into his vault of historic items.
So nobody knew he had this much money.
Counter-Strike history. And so, his name became more and more of an urban legend every day. But unfortunately for HFB, that was all about to change.
He should have sold the fucking skins. He should have sold the skins, chat.
On the 16th of June 2021, an unknown Russian CSGO player had devised a plan to break into HFB's vault. They were going to gain access to his Steam account, sell all of his items on a third-party website, and then vanish. On the surface, a naive dream with no substance. While the average phishing scam works on a concerning amount of the CSGO player base, in this scenario, it won't do. The thief had long realised that if he wanted to pull this off, that wasn't an option. So they started thinking outside the box.
If he's not been online for 3 years, how are they gonna get access to his vault or whatever his account? Don't look away. You're watching. We're on FM. W channel.
You see, a vault is easy to break into with enough time and resources. The tricky part is avoiding the people guarding the vault. That's why the robber knew the only way in was through social engineering, a backdoor. What if you could get Steam support to help you rob the vault instead of guarding it? Well, there was only one way to find out, so they got to work, gathering all the information they needed about HFB's account and personal life through various data leaks. Once they felt like they had enough information, they opened
his fucking
up a Steam
address?
support ticket.
No way.
Now, we could theorize on emails back and forth, security questions, and specifics of the conversation between the thief and Steam support, but I don't really want to go into details on possible ways this CSGO thief might have broken into one of the most valuable digital vaults in the history of the internet. What I will say is either the Russian had an ace up their sleeve that no one could have possibly known about, or they had a man on the inside. The only thing we know for sure is that by the time the support ticket had ended, the thief was logged into HFB's account with a fresh email and password to go along with it.
Imagine how
They had
angry
successfully
you'd be,
made
bro.
their way inside the vault and
Imagine
changed the
how
combination.
angry you'd fucking be.
Now, they prayed.
Imagine this HFB guy tries to log back into his Steam account. He just couldn't. His heart would fucking drop. 2 million. Oh my fucking gosh, bro.
If you broke into a vault
million?
undetected, what would you do? Would you look around for a few minutes and really take everything in? Or would you rush as fast as you can to fit everything in your bag and go?
I bet they looked around
Well,
because they thought they
our
were
thief
safe.
didn't have the luxury of choice, because they knew as soon as they broke in, they wouldn't be able to leave for a while. When an email or password is changed on a Steam account, a trade ban is put on the account for 5 days, meaning no item can leave the inventory of that player under any circumstance.
Shit.
So for the next 120 hours, the thief would have no choice but to look at everything that could be his and wait. Because although he broke into the vault and got past the guards undetected, if HFB notices someone has changed his combination, it was all for nothing.
Such a well made.
5 restless nights was the only option. Every day, the thief would wake up, praying HFB did not notice someone was living in the walls of his account. Every day, the thief had to
Bro,
look into the pixels
HFB,
of his
check your
monitor
shit, man.
that held $2 million
You've got
worth
2
of
million.
items deep
Wow.
within the display.
Check your shit. Part 5 plan execution.
By day 4, the thief had already ran through the exact way that they were going to cash out the items as quickly as possible. However, no matter how hard they tried, the thief could not fall asleep that night. They could only watch the counter go down every minute.
Fair enough.
Any distraction they
Everyone
tried
would
on
be.
themselves got overwhelmed by the ticking timer.
Everyone would be
that
like
stood
that for 2
between them
million.
and $2 million. As the minutes got closer, all sounds faded away. Unlike the robbery in the Bronx, this anticipation was much more prolonged. But as the seconds got closer, the adrenaline started to take over. And before the thief knew it, after 120 hours, on June 21st, 2021, the vault
Recent.
had opened.
Very recent.
It was time to smash and grab.
How fast could you go? Mate, if it was me for 2 million,
The
I'm
thief started
fucking
moving the valuable
upgrading that
items
shit
out
in
of the
CS:GO,
vault
babe.
and onto the third-party marketplaces, where he would list them for roughly 50% under market value for the fastest exit strategy possible. But what was so insane about this
50%?
heist is the fact that everybody could see what the thief was doing at all times. For you to successfully sell an item on one of these third-party marketplaces, the inventory your item is coming from has to be public. So for the first time in over 3 years, HFB's inventory could be seen
So
by
everybody thought it
everyone.
was him.
And
Everybody
the
thought it was
CSGO
him.
community couldn't believe it. However, excitement quickly turned into panic as people realized HFB was not in control of
Okay,
his
now
account.
they didn't know.
Items worth over $100,000 were being sold for $50. Rare pattern-based and low-flow items were being quick sold to bystanders. And suddenly, the Museum of Memorabilia HFB had owned for years started collapsing in front of the community's eyes.
That's so sad, man. This was probably like the guy's life savings.
Some items were being sold on a website called Buff, and others were being sold on a random Russian market that most people had never even heard of. By the time it was all said and done, when Steam finally noticed what was happening, the thief was gone. After 5 days of living in the walls of the most prolific vault in video game history, he had been evicted. No one knew how much he had made, and nobody knew how
I guess
many
they never
items
caught
were
him, right?
sold.
Reversing time. Has HFB
In almost every
spoken about
instance
it?
of an account being compromised, Steam does nothing. This is because usually it was an error made by the person who owns the account and not Steam. But in this instance, things are very different, because as we know, it was not HFB's fault his account was compromised. It was a Steam support misstep. So in Steam's mind, there was only one option: to turn back the clocks and reverse time. A thing the CSGO community had never seen before on this scale. Items started disappearing from the players who bought HFB skins on third-party websites.
Oh, no way!
And people started to panic.
Imagine buying
When
this
word
shit,
got
then
out,
it got taken.
buyers tried to move their items through as many accounts as possible, hiding them in storage containers, making their inventories private. But eventually, after a few days, the vault was back to its original state. And once again, HFB tinted the glass.
Stream
like nothing
crashed?
ever happened.
What is up with chat?
Now it wasn't HFB who lost hundreds of thousands, it was the rest of the player base. One specific user
Stream's fine.
spent $150,000 sniping HFB's
Fucking
items,
hell, bro.
and now they were left with absolutely nothing.
150
The
down the
third-party
drain.
marketplaces were doing everything they could to freeze the thieves' funds and refund the players who had lost items.
This video is the
Buff
2
was
million
semi-successful in doing so, but the Russian marketplace was not. It was over. The thief had gotten away with it.
Dang.
When it was all said and done, the thief walked away with upwards of $350,000 in
next.
crypto. Nowhere near close to 2 million,
No, but still, he got
a lot of
loads. He
money
got loads.
for some pixels. Luckily, Buff and the Russian marketplace decided to fully refund everyone who purchased a HFB item, meaning it wasn't the player base who took the hit, but instead, the third-party marketplaces.
Yeah.
Steam and HFB never commented on the situation, and while there have been suspected Steam accounts that could have belonged to the thief, we simply can't be certain.
Dang, he
In
got
the
away
end,
with it.
Steam had a huge wake-up call to social engineering through Steam support. HFB did not lose any of his items. The CSGO community was left with an insane story. The thief walked away with hundreds of thousands
So everybody
of dollars,
won.
and the third-party marketplaces took a big hit. But as the months
Apart from
passed, the question of a man on the inside became more and more intriguing. What if the thief wasn't working alone?
Yeah, the Steam support stuff could always be on it, chat. That is true, that is true.
Super important quick announcement. Gradient, my clothing brand that I launched last week.
Okay.
The sale is almost done. The drop is almost finished. On them.
W video. W